Okay, I hope that means it's working. So, for number 1 and 2 on the practice quiz, we are using the order of operations. So what that means is we are just going to solve these problems, and you're going to get a single number answer. Your answer is not going to have any pluses or minuses in it. There's not going to be any variables. We are just solving this like a regular math problem. So what I might have you do to start is, as a little guide or a key, just so that you don't have to look up at the wall every 2 seconds, we're going to go ahead and write out PEMDAS, the parentheses, exponents, multiplication and division, addition and subtraction. That way we have a little guide to reference so we know what order to do things in. So we're going to go ahead and start by looking at number 1. Number 1 says 3 times 11 divided by, in parentheses, 2 plus 3. So, according to the order of operations, what would be our first step here? Yeah, we would do the parentheses first. And in the parentheses, we have 2 plus 3, which is 5. So we would write that right under the parentheses. And then we need to make sure we don't lose anything else. So we're going to rewrite everything in that equation. 3 times 11 divided by 5. Okay. Now that we've done that, we want to look at this like it's a whole new problem. We have 2 different operations to work with. We have 3 times 11 and then 11 divided by 5. Which of these should we do first? Do we have an exponent here? Yeah, we're going to do that multiplication first. That's okay. I knew what you meant.
I didn't say nothing, but I meant, yeah.
That is okay. You're good, Jenny. So we have 3 times 11, and our order of operations tells us that we do multiplication and division next if there's no exponents or parentheses. So we're going to do that from left to right. 3 times 11 is what? 33. Then we're going to drop down that divided by 5. And now all that's left to solve is 33 divided by 5. And what is that? 6.6. Perfect. And then what do we do with our answer? Circle it. I want to know exactly what your answer is. We circle those answers. Any questions about number 1? Yes, Geneva?
Do we have to use markers when we do like that?
No. I'm just using markers so that you guys can see it a little better. I know it's blown up on the screen, but the pens are a little skinny, and I just want to make sure everybody can see it, okay? Yes?
What if you didn't like, what if you just did the problem without like breaking it down?
Right, that's what I did.
So what did you do different? You did 3 times 11.
I went in and just did like the 2 plus 5, 2 plus 3, which got me 5, and then I did 3 times 11. So I did 33 divided by 5.
Yeah, so you did the exact same thing we did. Maybe you just didn't write out all the steps.
Yeah.
So I'm just writing them out as kind of as, I can't think of the word I'm thinking of. I'm trying to show all the steps visually just so nobody is lost as to where we got each of the numbers. Your work doesn't necessarily have to look identical to mine, but this is just kind of the pathway that shows you exactly what we did. And if you got the right answer, you must have done it right.
Because doing it that way is a visual guide to make sure that you got the right
Yes,
answer.
yes.
You can't go into your calculator and punch in something different.
Yes, exactly, exactly.
That's just another way of helping you make sure you got the
Right.
right answer.
Now, I'm also going to mention, if you see up here in the directions it says show all work, that means I need you to not just write 6.6, because if you got the answer and you just wrote it down and circled it, I'm not going to know what you did to get that answer. And if you got an incorrect answer but you wrote your work down, I can then go back and see your work and see what step you messed up on. So that way the whole problem's not wrong and you could get some partial credit. All right, any questions about that before we check number 2? Okay, let's go ahead and move on. Number 2 says 5 times, parentheses, 8 minus 4, divided by 2 squared. or 2 to the second power. What does our order of operations tell us to do first? Parentheses, always. What's 8 minus 4? 4. Then we're going to drop everything else down. We've still got a 5 times and then a divided by 2 squared. All right. What's next?
Then now the exponent.
Exponents. Good. What is 2 squared?
4.
It is 4. So we're going to write 4 and then drop everything else down. We've got a divided by, we've got 5 times 4 divided by 4. What next?
Multiplication.
Yeah, multiplication. What's 5 times 4? 20 divided by 4. And what's that going to give us? 5. Perfect. Any questions on that one? Okay. Let's go ahead and move on to the next section. Now, guys, these 2 questions, number 3 and 4, we did not get a chance to go over this in class much. So these questions on your test will be bonus points. If you get them right, you get bonus points. If you get them wrong, they don't count against you, okay? So if you want to make a note that these are bonus, they won't hurt you, but if you get them right, they will certainly help you. So that's for number 3 and number 4. Yeah, and I'm going to explain these to you now. And since we're just getting to talk about it before the quiz tomorrow, that's why they're going to be bonus. So let's look at number 3. For this type of problem, it says to evaluate each expression. So we have 6x plus y. Over to the side, there's a little key that says x equals 3 and y equals 2. So whenever we have an expression with variables, and then to the side we have something that tells us what those variables stand for, we can then plug in or replace the variables with the numbers they give us. So let's go ahead and start by, I'm going to rewrite this, but leave spaces for the numbers we're going to write in. So I have 6 times whatever x is plus whatever y is. So what does x stand for? What does x equal to? 3. So we're going to put 3 where x was, right here next to the 6. And then right here in the original expression it says we're going to do just plus y. So we're going to do plus whatever y is. What is y? 2. So I'm going to use these colors just to show the separation. I'm just going to write 2 in for y. Okay, so now that my numbers are plugged in, we just solved this like a normal math problem. We now have 6 times 3 plus 2. So what's our first step here? Absolutely. What is 6 times 3? 18. And then we have our plus 2. What's 18 plus 2? 20. And that would be your answer. You're going to circle that. And that's all there is to it, guys. All there is to it. Any questions about number 3? Okay. If we feel okay about it, we'll move on to 4. All right. Number 4, we have the same type of question, except for this time our letters or our variables are just different letters. Instead of x and y, we have A. I'll circle that. And we have B. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to rewrite this expression, but with slots so that we can put our A and our B where they belong. So we have A squared plus parentheses 6 minus then whatever B is. Okay, so we have our thing written out. And we know that the first part is a squared. What am I going to write here for a? 2, because they tell us a is 2. So we're going to just put a 2 right there. Now we're going to look at the slot for b. We have 6 minus b. So we're going to put 6 minus what?
3.
Let's look at our sign though. It is a negative 3. So it's actually going to be 6 minus negative 3. We have to include the whole number. Is anybody confused at all about why we're putting the negative? I know, it's kind of small. It's kind of small. Now, on your quiz tomorrow, it's going to be the same way. Your A is going to be positive, your B is going to be negative. It's going to be just a different number. Okay. Now we have our things, our variables plugged in, so we can solve this math problem. We have 2 squared plus 6 minus negative 3. What do we do first? Yeah, we're going to do what's in parentheses first. We have 6 minus negative 3. Who knows what that is? Ooh, I'm hearing 2 different answers. I hear 3, I hear 9. Which one's right? 9. It's going to be 9. Now that's confusing, but let me show you. I'm going to get out our addition and subtraction chart here. So we are doing, let me get a marker so I can show you. We are subtracting, right here it says we're doing 6 minus something, so that's subtraction. So we're going to look at the subtraction side here. And then are we subtracting a positive number or a negative number? Negative. So we are in subtraction and we're subtracting a negative. Now the second option here says when you subtract a negative number, you move to the right on the number line. If you notice, you also move right on the number line whenever you add a positive number. So we can know that subtracting a negative number is the same thing as adding. Whenever we have 2 negatives or 2 minuses that are right next to each other, they like to join each other and turn into a positive sign. So the question there is actually 6 plus 3. And to show that on the number line, if we started at 6 right here, and we are subtracting a negative, we're going to move right. So if I go 1, 2, 3, we land on 9. Does everybody see that? And don't forget, guys, we have calculators. You are allowed to use those on the quiz. So we figured out 6 minus negative 3 is 9. Then we're going to bring everything down. We've got 2 squared plus 9. What now? 2 times 2 is 4. So now we have 4 plus 9. And what is that going to give us? 13. And then you circle your answer, guys. Circle your answer. Don't get too hung up on questions 3 and 4 because, like I said, these will be bonus points. If we get to the quiz tomorrow and this has left your brain, don't worry. It is bonus points. It will only help you. It cannot hurt you. Any questions before we go to the next section? Okay, let's do it. So, for questions 5 through 12, let me zoom out a little so I can show you everything. Okay. For questions numbers 5 through 12, we are going to be simplifying each of these expressions. Now, to simplify, we have been practicing combining like terms, and we've been practicing distribution. So I'm going to give you some labels because this is going to be the same way on your quiz tomorrow. For the first 4 we see here, number 5, 6, 7, and 8. I'm going to write a little key out to the side. We are only combining like terms here. We're only adding and subtracting. You will not do any multiplication on these 4 questions. So I'm going to write here, combining like terms and then kind of in parentheses I'm going to say adding and subtracting only. So nobody should be multiplying, dividing, anything like that in these 4 problems. Okay. And again, this is going to be identical to the quiz tomorrow. So these rules will apply to tomorrow's quiz. All right. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of these problems. Let's look at number 5. Number 5, we have 7x plus 10x. What should we do here? We're just going to add. What is our answer going to be? 17x. All I did was 7 plus 10, and I kept the x on the end because these are like terms. We can combine them by adding. So here, there's not a whole lot of work to show. You can just write 17x and circle it. That's your answer there. How about number 6? We have 4n plus 3 plus 5n minus 2. Yeah, 4n and 5n are going to go together. So you could either do the bubble method, or we could do what we've kind of moved to, where we connect lines to our like terms so that we know these two go together. So I'll go ahead and put those together. 4n plus 5n is what? 9n. Okay. And now we've got some more to combine. What do we have? Yeah. We've got 3 plus negative 2, or 3 minus 2. What's that going to give us? 1. Is it a positive 1 or a negative 1? Positive. Since it's positive, am I going to put a plus or a minus? Plus. I'll just do 9n plus 1. And then that is my answer, guys. We'll circle it. Okay, any questions about number 6? All right, let's look at 7. We have negative 4n plus 10n. Negative 4n plus 10n. What are we going to do here? We're just going to add them together. What is that going to give us as our answer? 6n. Positive or negative? Positive. Good. We know that this is going to give us 6 because when you add a negative, you're really just subtracting. And I'll write this out to the side in case it's helpful. If you did 10n minus 4n, you know that you would get 6n. And that would be your answer. Any questions before we go to 8?
Okay, tell that again. Why that?
Absolutely. So, let me get bigger on it. Yes. Whenever you are adding a negative, so if I add negative 4 to 10, I'm really taking away 4. Because when you add a negative doesn't make the value get bigger. It actually decreases it. It makes it smaller. So we're really just doing 10 minus 4. And that's going to leave us with 6n. Okay, does that make sense? Good. All right, let's check number 8. We have negative 10a plus 6 plus 3 minus 3a. What should we do first? Yeah, we're going to combine the like terms. We have an a first. Where's our other a? At the end. We've got a negative 10 and a negative 3a. How are we going to put those together? What's that going to give us?
It'll give us a positive 7A.
Not a positive 7. If we've got two negative numbers, yeah, we're going to get a negative 13A. So if I had to start negative 10 and I subtract 3, so see how we have a minus 3 here? I'm going to go back 1, 2, 3 and land at negative 13, guys.
Why are we subtracting?
Because we have a minus sign here, minus 3A. So we're going to take negative 10A minus 3A. So we would start at negative 10 and go back 1, 2, 3 to negative 13.
Yeah, I had it on the old one, and I got this new one and broke it down.
Oh. Does that make sense to everybody? If not, you know, tell me. We can talk about it more.
10A plus, or I mean, negative 10A minus 3A.
Yes. So if you were wanting to write out your steps, you could write out negative 10A minus 3A. So we've got that part. And then what would our other like terms be?
The 6 plus 3.
Yeah, we've got a positive 6, positive 3. So we've got 6 plus 3. Okay. And then we found out just a minute ago that negative 10 minus 3 gives us negative 13. And we can't lose our A, so we bring that down. And then what is 6 plus 3? 9. So we just have negative 13A plus 9. All right.
Those are the problems that I think I have problems with.
Right. Well, they are kind of tricky. Whenever you have them written out in one long expression here, it's easy to kind of get a little backwards with your symbols.
Crazy, last week I didn't even write it out, but I got the same answer right. But this week I'm gonna write it out, and this
I think it's the
extra stuff.
negative and positives that I have problems with.
Right,
That's
right.
what I'm having issues with.
I would just remember that whatever you're looking at, these terms here, let me use a different color.
On my paper, I have negative 10A plus 3A plus 9.
Okay, so where'd you get a plus 3A?
Because, I don't know, that was the next simple after negative 10A.
Okay, so let's look at this. Whenever we have, so go ahead and peek up here. If you're confused about what symbols we're using, look up here for a minute. We need to remember that the symbols that go with each of the terms are the ones directly to the left. So I have a negative 10A. I have a minus 3A. That plus goes with the 6, and then that other plus goes with the 3. So I would remember this is how we did that bubble method. So if the bubbles help you, absolutely use them. Absolutely use them. If they help you keep track of your signs, I'm more than happy to see bubbles all over your paper. Does that make more sense, Beth?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, any more questions before we move on to 7? All righty. So, number 7 through 12. 7 through 12. 9 through 12, thank you. 9 through 12, we start with distribution. So I'm going to label these for you because it's going to be the same way on your quiz. 9, 10, 11, and 12, we start by distributing. So I'm going to write that right here. Distribute. And what operation do we use when we distribute? When I draw an arrow from, that's all right, multiplication, thank you. So we are going to be multiplying things first, but once we distribute, we don't touch multiplication again. We go right back to combining like terms, which is just addition and subtraction. Multiplication. Okay, so our first step on these is distribution. Then combine like terms. and I'm going to put in parentheses there, that's adding or subtracting.
Are you gonna always do this when it's time?
I'm going to try to, yes. I am. I like having something to go off of, a little cheat sheet. Okay. All right, are we ready to check out number 9? All right, let's do it. Let me bring this a little lower. We have 7 times, in parentheses, 2x plus 9. What is our first step? Ooh, so remember what I just told you on the side here. We're going to be distributing first.
We're going to be doing the 7 times 2.
Yeah. Normally, we would always do what's in parentheses first, guys. So this is why it's tricky. We always do parentheses first, but we don't know what x is. So we can't do 2x plus 9. That's why we got to use the number on the outside, and we multiply it by each term. So this will probably look familiar to you. Remember, we start by drawing our arrows. And what that means is I'm taking 7 times 2x plus 7 times 9. Now this step is optional. If you want to write this out, I'm just doing it to show you what exactly I'm doing. If you can look at this and say 7 times 2, 14x, and just write that, that's fine. But I'm going to write out the problem that we're really doing here in case it's helpful. We've got 7 times 2x, and then 7 times 9. And is everyone comfortable with when I draw a dot in between numbers, that's another multiplication symbol?
Yes.
Okay, so that just means we're multiplying. So now let's go ahead and do those steps, do those multiplication problems. What would 7 times 2x be? 14x. Good. And then what about 7 times 9? 63. So we're going to keep that plus sign, plus 63. Can I combine any like terms here? No. That's right. We don't know what x is, and 63 doesn't have an x2. So we are going to circle this. This is our answer. It's as simplified as we can get it. All right. Any other questions about number 9? All right. We're going to move on to number 10 here in a second. Be very careful with these multiplication problems when we have negative numbers involved. When we multiply 2 negatives, what sign is our answer going to be? Positive. Good. What about when we multiply a negative and a positive?
Negative?
Yes. When we have different signs, our answer is going to be negative. So we know we're doing 2 multiplication problems, just like in 9. I'm going to start by drawing arrows from my negative 12 to my negative 2. And then from negative 12 to positive 7x. And we're going to solve the 2 multiplication problems. So again, I'm going to write underneath just so everyone can see what we're doing. This is optional. If you don't need to write it out, you don't have to. I know I'm going to do negative 12 times negative 2. And then I'm going to do negative 12 times positive 7x. Okay. What's negative 12 times negative 2? Oh, yeah, positive 24. Good. So I'm going to write 24 directly under it. And then I'm going to wait, and I'm not going to bring this plus sign down just yet, because if I end up getting a negative answer here, I don't want to write plus negative. I could just write minus. Because when you add a negative, you just subtract. And that's a more simplified way of writing it. So let's look here. The next step is negative 12 times 7x. What are we going to get there? Negative 84x. Good. And since it's a negative, we know that it's going to be a subtraction problem. So I'm going to write 24 minus 84x.
Okay, now hold on.
Uh-huh.
Why did that change to a negative? When you got a plus up there between these two.
So let me show you. Whenever we have our answer here, which would have been 24 plus, then we would have gotten negative 84x. We don't like to have two symbols right beside each other. So we know that whenever we add a negative, we're really just subtracting. The plus sign is not necessary here. We just need the minus.
So I got that answer on my old, on this one.
Uh-huh.
My old one, but I would've, you probably still would've marked it wrong, because I got that positive and that negative in the middle.
So if you have a plus sign here, I'm probably not going to mark you wrong because you got the right numbers, you did the correct math. As long as it's not just plus 84x, there's got to be a negative there.
Yeah, because, I have both of them in the middle.
I'm just going to say what I'm circling here, 24 minus 84x, this is the more simplified version. This reads a little easier. If you give me this second answer, the plus negative 84x, it's not going to be wrong. However, I do want everyone to try and start getting comfortable moving over to just having the minus, because we just don't need that plus. When we have a plus sign, it just means 24 and negative 84. So we can kind of just get rid of the and sign, and it tells us the same thing. If you keep it there, I'm not going to count it wrong, but I would like people to start getting comfortable getting rid of it.
So when I'm looking at that plus between them, parentheses up at the top, second one, right there, yeah. So that plus right down there, where you're at, where you think that dang old plus.
Uh-huh.
Turn into a minus.
It's going to turn into a
Going to
minus
one. Okay.
just because this answer is negative. Negative 12 times 7x.
Okay, that's what it's.
I know it is a little tricky, guys. It is a little tricky. Any more questions about 10?
Yeah, I kind of like broke it down and got negative 60x.
You got negative what x?
60x.
Negative 60x. What numbers did you multiply?
I got that too.
I just went on and did 24, take away the 84.
Yeah,
Ooh,
But
okay.
that
So
negative
let's look.
so-
We have a 24 with no variable, and then we have 84x. These are not like terms. They cannot be combined. So this is our last step. This is as far as we can go.
I gotta remember.
They have to have the same variable in order to do them together. Yeah. So if this was 24x minus 84x, you could definitely do that. But this is just 24 and there's no x attached. So these are not like terms. Does that make sense, guys?
Yes, I have to remember that.
Okay. All right, let's look at 11. We have negative 7 times n plus 4 in parentheses plus 2. What's our first step?
Distribute a negative 7.
Yes, we want to distribute negative 7 by multiplying it to n and then negative 7 multiplied to 4. Okay, so we have negative 7 times n. What is that going to give us? Negative 7n. And then we have negative 7 times positive 4. What's that going to give us? Negative 28. And just a quick refresher, guys, when you want to type in a negative on your calculator, you're going to push this bottom right button where it's a minus sign in parentheses. So I would hit negative, and see how little minus sign pops up there. Negative 7 times just 4. It's a positive 4. Then I would hit enter, and I get negative 28. And since it's a negative, I'm going to write minus 28. All right, are we done?
That's the answer?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, are we done?
Plus 2.
We don't want to forget our plus 2 up here. We got to add that to the end. Plus 2. Okay, now, we've done our distribution. But do we have any terms that we can combine?
Yes.
Yes, we have a negative 28 plus 2. What is negative 28 plus 2? Oh, negative 28 plus 2.
Negative 26.
Yeah, so if you kept that negative 28 on your calculator, you could just do plus 2, and then you'll get negative 26. Negative 26. We got to really pay attention to our signs since there's a minus sign right next to 28. Remember, like when we did our bubbles.
So like, okay, so if you don't got like the same variable,
Mm-hmm.
then you don't have to break the problem down. But if you got a negative or a positive, you have to.
So if we have an answer like this, it's 14x plus 63, or 24 minus 84x. These are not like terms, so there's nothing else we can do. 63 doesn't have an x, 24 doesn't have an x. The reason that we can combine these is because neither of them have a variable, so they're just regular numbers. And we can add and subtract regular numbers like the regular numbers. So that's why we do the negative 28 plus 2, and we got negative 26, and then we're going to bring down our negative 7n. Now, is there anything else we can do? No, there's not. They are not like terms, so this is simplified. All right. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. Let's check out number 12 now. What is our first step? Yes, we need to distribute 3 over here and over here. So we're going to do 3 times 3 and 3 times 2p. What is 3 times 3? 9. What is 3 times 2p? 6p, and it's positive, so I get to keep that plus sign. 6p. Are we done? No, we still have a 3p up here that needs to be brought down. So we have 3p plus 9 plus 6p. What can I do now? Yeah, we can see here that these are like terms. They both have a p on the end. So I can just do 3p plus 6p, and I know I'll have a plus 9 at the end. What is 3 plus 6? 9. So we have 9p, don't forget your variable, and then what? Plus 9. Good. Now, if you ended up doing 9 plus 9p instead, that would be fine. That would be okay if the order was different, as long as you got the correct symbols and you knew that it was all positive. Yes?
I did that problem all wrong. I got 3p plus 15p.
3p plus 15p. Where did you get 15 from? Did you do 9 plus 6 to get 15?
I don't know what I did.
Can I see your paper?
Yeah.
All right, let's see.
I think I did it all on the line.
Oh, okay, I see what you did. So first you did 3 plus 2 in the parentheses,
Oh.
and then you did 3 times 5 to get 15. So we have to be super careful, and remember, there's no p on that 3. So we
So
can't
my
combine
question
those.
is, when you took the first arrow, the 3 to the other 3, and then the 3 to the 2p,
Mm-hmm.
why didn't you take the first 3p to the 2p?
Because this is not in the parentheses. Let me break that problem down for you a little further so it makes more sense. Okay, so if anybody was confused, I'm going to rewrite it and do it a little bit more slowly. So our question was 3p plus 3 times 3 plus 2p. Okay. So, normally, when we see a problem with numbers in parentheses, we would do the parentheses first. You would think, oh, 3 plus 2. I know that's 5. That's going to be my answer. But we cannot add 3 and 2p because they are not like terms. There's no p attached to the 3, but there is on the 2. So if they don't have the same variable, we cannot put them together. Now, like I had you write out to the side on that practice quiz, it says that for these problems, we're going to distribute first, and then we're going to combine the like terms. So we're going to do that exact thing. When we have a number, that's all right. When we have a number right outside of terms and parentheses, that means that we are going to multiply it to each of the terms inside. So what we're doing here is 3 times 3 plus 3 times 2p. And then we still have our plus 3p out to the side here. All right, is everybody following so far? All right. So now, once we have this distribution problem broken up into the multiplication problems, we know that we can solve 3 times 3, which is 9. And then we have our plus signs that I'm going to bring down. We have 3 times 2p, what's that? 6p. Okay. And then we have our 3p left over. Now, I know it might be a little confusing because 3 and 2p aren't like terms, so we can't put them together, right? Multiplication is the exception. You can multiply things that are not like terms. You can do that. We just can't add and subtract. We cannot combine like terms if they don't have the same variable. So now we are to this step. We've got 3p plus 9 plus 6p. Okay, and then this is where we saw I've got a term here with a p, I've got a term here with a p. I can put these together and do 3p plus 6p, and I know that that is actually 9p plus 9 because I hadn't used my 9 yet, and it's plus. All right, does that make more sense, Beth?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Good, good, good. All right, any questions about the first page before we look at the back? Yes?
I know the question just came over. I see where I did wrong with that question 12.
Yeah, what'd you do?
See, what I did was brought that 3 down in front of the parentheses.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
I do see. So instead of getting rid of it after you multiplied, you kind of kept it in there?
Yeah.
Okay, I gotcha. I gotcha.
So just take it out.
Yeah, just take it out. If it helps, after you've done a step, like I know, okay, I've distributed, I'm going to just cross that off. I don't need this anymore. Now I have this problem. I already used that. It's gone. If you want to cross out at each step, like, okay, now I've done my 3 times 3, I got 9, that's gone. Now I did 3 times 2p, I got 6p, that's gone. I still need to bring down my 3p. Okay, I did, that's gone now. Then when I put my 3p and 6p together, I could cross those off as I go. And I did that to get 9p. Oh, and I still need to add my 9. So if it helps you to just cross things off as you go, go ahead. You can do that. I think sometimes, like when you cross something off of a checklist, it helps know that you don't have to worry about it anymore. All right. Yes, and circle your answer, always. Keep circling. Okay guys, let's check out the last page. I'm going to give you another little guide to help with these because polynomials are kind of the most difficult thing we've been doing. Okay, so I want to give you a little step-by-step kind of key or guide to help you solve these. So at the bottom of each of your pages, if you want, I'm going to have you copy down what I'm writing, just so you have something to reference, kind of like a cheat sheet. So I'm going to start right here, and I'm going to put a little star. And this is going to be a rule that only applies to subtraction. So I'm going to say subtraction only. Subtraction only. Okay, and then I'm going to say distribute the negative first.
So you said we always subtracting on this?
No. So here, I'll explain. I'm going to just have you write these rules first, and then I'll explain what they're necessary for. Just because I want you to have this for your quiz tomorrow, so you've got a little guide. So subtraction problems, we always distribute the negative first. Okay. Then, once we have addition, here's our steps. So step 1, you are going to group your like terms. And in parentheses, if you forget what like terms are, it just means same variable and power or exponent. So some little small points for this is when you're grouping your terms, that's when you're like drawing lines to connect them. That could be when you're putting your terms in parentheses too. Okay. And then step 2, your final step, is to combine like terms. Oh my goodness. Combine. Can't write today. Combine like, and that is only adding and subtracting. You will not multiply anything on this page. Do not multiply. If you need to write in big red letters on the top of your page, sorry guys, I'm sure you're still writing. Don't multiply. Make sure you don't multiply on this page. Okay, and I'll wait for everybody to get caught up to there. Okay, so on your quiz, it will be the same types of problems. So I'm going to give you kind of a guide here. Number 13. This is an addition problem. We don't have to distribute the negative here. 13 is addition. 15 is also addition. There's a plus sign. That means you are not distributing negative here. So 13 and 15, those are addition problems. Then we can look at number 14 and 16, and we see those both have minus signs in the middle. They are subtraction problems. So the first step on these is going to be to distribute your negative. Okay, so let's go ahead, and we've got about 5 minutes left. We'll have time to run through one, maybe two of these. Bless you. We'll have time to run through one or two of these. Let's definitely run through a subtraction one. So does anybody have one that they are looking at in particular they think they want to see worked out here? 14. Let's do 14. Okay. So we're going to look at that guide, and that guide tells us we're going to start by distributing the negative. Okay? So I see to the left here, I have this negative, this minus sign. We're not multiplying any numbers. We're not touching this first polynomial. We are just going to take this minus sign and distribute it to each of the terms in the second polynomial. All that means, all that we're doing is changing any positives to negatives and any negatives to positives. We're just changing the sign to the opposite here. So if I start with positive 3x squared, the negative is going to change it to what? Yeah, it's going to change it to negative 3x squared. So all I'm going to do is right under it, I'm going to write negative 3x squared. And I'll keep my parenthesis on the outside. Now I have the negative being distributed into negative 2x. My negative 2x is going to turn into what? Positive 2x. It just turns into the opposite. Now finally, I have a plus 6, a positive 6. What's my negative going to change this to? Negative 6 or minus 6. Good. So since we've distributed the negative, this turns into an addition problem. We don't like to subtract polynomials, so we start by distributing the negative to turn it into addition. Once we've done that, all we need to do is rewrite the first polynomial. Don't change any of the signs there. Keep it the same. So maybe to show that, what I'll do is instead of writing it in red, I'll write it in black. So I have my 3, I have a plus, I've got a 4x plus, and this is negative 6x squared. Okay. Does everybody see what we've done so far?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. Now that we have distributed that negative, we are going to do step 1, which says to group like terms, where we draw lines if it's helpful or put things in parentheses to keep track. So I am going to start by looking at my first term. I've got negative 6x squared. I'm looking to see if there's any other x squareds that I can group it with. Is there any x squareds? Yes, I've got a negative 3x squared. So what I'm going to do is draw a line to show that I'm putting those together. And underneath that in parentheses, I'm going to write negative 6x squared. Then I have minus 3x squared because it's a negative here. So I'm going to put minus 3x squared. That's all my x squareds. So next, because we're adding, we changed it to an addition problem, remember? We put plus signs in between all of our groups. Next, let's look at our x's. We did our x squareds. Now we have a 4x. What other x's do we see? 2x. So let's connect those. We've got a positive 4x, a positive 2x. We can just write 4x plus 2x. All right. And then since we're adding, we changed it to addition. We put another plus sign in between our grouped terms. And finally, we have our non-variable terms. I've got a positive 3. Do I have any other numbers without variables? Negative 6. Pay attention to that sign there. We have a positive 3, a negative 6, or minus 6. So what I'm going to put here is my parentheses, 3 minus 6. Okay. Is everybody to that point? We need a second to write. All right. So now we've grouped our like terms. As you can see, we drew the lines. We put them in parentheses. Now we just combine them with addition and subtraction. So, and I didn't draw a line for this one. There you go. Let's just do the problems in the parentheses. We have negative 6x squared minus 3x squared. What's that going to give us?
Negative 3x squared.
Oh, let's type it in our calculator. Don't forget your signs. We have negative 6 minus 3. Negative 9x squared, guys. Be very careful when you're typing your problems in. Pay attention to every sign. We have negative 9x squared. Okay. Now we have 4x plus 2x. What's that going to give us? 6x. Good. 6x. That's positive, so that plus sign can stay the same here. Now we have 3 minus 6. Negative 3. So let's write negative 3. Okay, and since that was a negative, we don't have to write the plus sign there. We know it's just negative 9x squared plus 6x minus 3. Now there's no more like terms, so I'm just going to rewrite my numbers and terms a little closer to each other so they look a bit more organized. And then I'm going to circle my answer. Negative 9x squared plus 6x minus 3. Okay, guys. That is time. It is 10:26.
I don't like those.
I know. They're not fun. They're not super fun. We've been working on them a whole lot when you were gone. Now, everybody, I want to remind you, our quiz is tomorrow. However, remember, we have a 1-week period after the quiz where if you don't like how you did and you want to redo it, you can. You absolutely can. You'll have a whole week to schedule it with me and to try again if you feel like you need to, okay? All right, guys, that is all. There's no exit ticket today. Just study tonight. If you have any questions, email me. I'm happy to answer them. And hopefully I can have this uploaded. I hope this video worked.